right, and it looks like we're live everywhere. Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome to Adobe Live. Well, actually, this is the Terry White version of Adobe Live, but we're Adobe Live. We're going to be talking about mobile image editing. And I see Mike South in the house. I see all kinds of cool people in the house. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for joining me for this. Shouldn't be too long of a demonstration on how to edit your images on your mobile devices. That's right. I talk a lot about Photoshop on the desktop, talk a lot about Lightroom on the desktop, but today it's all mobile. We're going to be doing iPhone, iPad, and of course everything I'm going to show you is free for both iOS and Android. So all you'd have to do is go to your respective app stores and download the respective applications as I talk about them. The first one up we're going to talk about, which is one that got a lot of buzz when I posted an image that I had retouched while I was on vacation. It was just a quick snapshot on the beach, and then I took some people out of it, and people were freaking out, like, how'd you do that? How'd you do that on the phone? And so I thought I'll start with that one, and then we'll get into some other examples after that one. So good to see everybody here. Hello, Marty S. and Victoria, and let's see. Fabio, everyone's in the house. I am good. All right. So without further ado, let's go ahead and pop over to the mobile device, to the iPhone in this case. And the first app we're going to talk about is Photoshop Fix. Photoshop Fix, free app. To download it, just go to the iOS App Store or the Android App Store. You don't have to be a Creative Cloud member to use this app. You used to have to sign in with an Adobe ID, but I think now they've made it you can sign in with an Adobe ID or one of your social media accounts like Facebook. So no purchase requirement, no in-app purchase. This is it. You just go download the app and start using it. All right, so with that said, let me go ahead and pop into it. I'm going to go ahead and go to, now I'm going to show it to you first from Lightroom, meaning my images are in Lightroom that I want to work on. And I'm going to give you the scenario that I had on the beach that day. And then we'll jump into some later examples of how Photoshop Fix works independently of Lightroom. You don't have to use Lightroom with it, but if you are using Lightroom with it, you can. All right, so what had happened? Well, what had happened? What happened that day? All right, I had taken this photo. And as you can see, there's a bunch of people on the beach. And I was only interested in photographing one person on the beach. And I was kind of like, oh man, these people are just killing my shot. All these people on the beach just messing things up. So then I did this. While I was sitting there in my beach chair on the beach, just chilling, I took all the other people out of the shot. And then I posted it on social media. I even did the before and after so people could see it. And they were like, how did you do that? Oh my God, you did that on a phone? You know, freaking out. So I thought, well, wow, I've been showing this for years. This is not new. So let me show it again, just to refresh people on that this can be done. Take your image however you want to. I took this one with the Lightroom camera built into the Lightroom app, which is another free app you can download for both iOS or Android. But whether you took it with the app or the camera app that's on your phone, or you took it with the camera app that's in Lightroom, or you took it any other way, you can open that image in Photoshop Fix. Now, because it is in Lightroom, I'm going to show you how to get from Lightroom directly to Photoshop Fix to do some edits, because the two talk back and forth to each other. If I didn't have Lightroom, I could still just open it up in Photoshop Fix, and we'll do an example of that later. But because I do have Lightroom, I'm going to go ahead and go up to the, wrong menu, the little share icon in the upper right-hand corner. And if I wanted to share this image the way it is, I could share it right here from Lightroom Mobile. I could share it, save it to the camera roll as a JPEG, open it in another one of my phone apps to do more with it. Or you notice the fourth option, Edit In. The edit in is what talks to the other Adobe applications. So if I say edit in, I get a choice of do I want to edit a small version of it, like the smart preview size, or do I want to maximum available quality. I want the maximum available quality. So that will render out a JPEG. This was a raw file, so it'll render out a JPEG from it. And then it will, once it renders that JPEG, it will give me my choices of what I can do. So Photoshop Fix can do a lot of things, but usually people coming from Lightroom are going to do one of two things. They need to heal some things, which is what I need to do, get some people out of my shot, or they want to liquefy, they want to smooth some things out, or just readjust someone's, look. I want to do the first one. I want to heal in Photoshop Fix. Now, if I needed to do those other things, if I needed to do all the other things that Photoshop Fix could do, then I would just go to Photoshop Fix and open it that way, which we'll do later. But the quick back and forth gives me these two choices. So I'm going to go ahead and say heal in Photoshop Fix. And that will just take the image over to Photoshop Fix and take me right to the healing mode, and away I go. I can start anywhere I want. I can zoom in. I can change my brush size and hardness. I can do everything I want to do to it. I can also use the clone stamp, the patch tool, and the red eye fix, all while I'm in this mode. So I'm going to start on the right-hand side where we got a bunch of people and work my way to the left-hand side. So let's zoom in to the right-hand side where we've got some people there, people I don't know. So I'm already in the spot healing brush, which is this first icon. And you'll be tempted to want to work fast and do it all at once. Trust me, you'll get better results if you do a little at a time. So instead of me trying to take out all of those people at one time, I'll do it much easier and better if I take out a few at a time, like this, whatever this half person is on the right-hand side. So let's just go ahead. I'm using my finger, so I'm doing it right here in front of you, using my finger and just painting down the right-hand side of the canvas. And voila, like magic, it uses the rest of the beach to fill that person in. And just so you don't think I'm like tricking you, I don't have a stylus, I don't have anything here. So I'm going to use my finger, and once again, grab those people up in the water. They're gone now. And then I can keep going. Now, because the two people above this woman's head are kind of like all in that one area, I'm just going to do all of that at the same time. So I'm just going to go ahead, paint all of her. And because she's so close to that other dude, I'm going to just go ahead and try and get all of him too. All right. I missed an arm. That's okay. I can always go back and get that arm out of there. So far, so good. Just keep going. This is easy. Those people are gone now. And then I just use two fingers to move it over. And now those people are gone. Those people are gone. And don't forget to get the reflections. The first time I posted this, people were pointing out, hey, you missed the reflection of this woman or this shadow of this woman's leg. And I was like, crap, I did. And I think I need to go back because I might have still missed it. But anyway, let's go ahead and get that. And this person and their reflection. Good, good, good. Let me zoom back. Oh, yep, see, I missed that shadow again. I was about to leave it in there. There are two shadows right here. Get that shadow out of there. Get that shadow out of there. I don't want that much sand, so let me pull some of that sand back a little bit. There we go. It's a dead giveaway that you took somebody out if their shadow is still on the ground. So you gotta remember to get rid of the shadows. All right, that person's gone. That person's gone. All right, we'll zoom in here. We'll get rid of this guy. Now he's talking to nobody. He's just kind of looking, oh, see, now that's the problem. Because it's using the area to the left of him, I need to get rid of both of them at the same time. So I can go ahead and do this. Because I don't want to duplicate that guy. I just want to get rid of both of them. So I'll just go ahead and pull both of them out at the same time. Sometimes it is better to work on a bigger area. This is one of those times. All right. Left some of the shorts, no problem. That's just me not paying attention. All right. Get rid of some of those shadows and reflections. Good, good, good. And we'll smooth out some of this water. And we'll smooth some of that out as well. I need to go back and work on that water a little bit, but you get the idea. All right, now I left the umbrella in the original shot. And of course, as soon as I left the umbrella in the original shot, people were like, what about the umbrella? And I was like, I kind of like the umbrella. I was okay with it. But for the people that say, what about the umbrella? Let's get rid of the umbrella too. I honestly didn't forget the umbrella. I just left it in on purpose. But people were like freaking out. What about the umbrella? All right, so now the umbrella's gone too. Okay, now I want to show you another method that you can use when healing doesn't quite work. Like I'm looking at the water right in this area, and I don't like the way it blended that in. So I'm going to do it again just to try it one more time. If I still don't like it, which I do, but if I didn't like it, you can immediately after you do a heal that you don't like, switch over to the patch tool and it will remember that last selection you just made. Then you can just drag that over and do a patch instead of a heal. So I can say, no, use that water pattern and fill that right in. All right. So far, so good. There's a little bit of whatever that is on the ground. Let's get rid of that. And there's part of a reflection left over. So now we're just spot checking our image, making sure we got rid of all the things we wanted to get rid of. And there we are. That's how I ended up with no people on the beach, except the one person I was photographing. It's that easy. And I did it in the same amount of time on my phone. Matter of fact, even a little quicker because I wasn't having to explain it as I was doing it. Photoshop Fix, free app. You can do this with any photo. Just go download Photoshop Fix. It's free. All right, so next up, yes, you can edit raw files. So someone's asking, can it edit raw files? And it can. All right, so now I'm done. And keep in mind where I came from. I came from Lightroom, opened it into Photoshop Fix, did what I wanted to do, and I'm done. Well, like on the desktop, I'd want to take it back to Lightroom, like the finished version. I didn't kill my original. My original is still there. So I want to get this one back over there. And Evil Cerise, thanks for being in the chat, man. All right, so notice at the very top of the screen, there's a blue button that says Save and Return to Lightroom. If you don't want to save, you're like, oh, I really messed up. I don't even keep this. Then you would tap Options, and there's an abort, like abandon and return. But I want to save and return. So I just tap that blue bar, switches me back to Lightroom, and puts it right next to the original. So now I have two edited versions. I have that edited version, the original, and now that edited version, which was the original edited version because the umbrella is still there. So here's the one that I just did. All right, so there we are. We just did it right in front of you. Is there version control? There is no version control. There are undos and things like that, but versions are you going back like I just did. So I have two versions of this now. Actually, three if you count the original. Okay, so that was Photoshop Fix going directly over to, Lightroom going directly over to Photoshop Fix, doing the healing, patching, coming back to Lightroom, and now I have a JPEG next to the original RAW file. Okay. Yeah, you can undo. You can't undo once you save and you close it, but you have undos in Photoshop Fix. The little arrows are at the very top. I'll show you next time I go in there. Okay, so I'm going to, for a second, disconnect the iPhone because I want to show you what I'm going to do next on the iPad. All right, so I can do it on the iPhone, but people say, well, why wouldn't you want to do it on the iPad Pro where you have the Apple Pencil and it's a bigger screen? And just for those people, I'll show you that you could do it on either one. I could do the entire demo today on the phone. I could do the entire demo today on the iPad. It doesn't matter. It's just picking up whichever one you want. So let me close the iPhone for a second. All right, unplug the iPhone from the broadcasting system. I'm going to plug in the iPad to the broadcasting system. Pick up the iPad. You guys should, there you go, you can see it. Because with the iPad, I have something better than my finger. I have the Apple Pencil. And the Apple Pencil works only on the iPad at this point. All right, so now let's bring it up so you can see it again. And let's switch. Now it's probably going to give me an error. Let's see if it does. If it does, I'll just have to do it again. Oh, no error this time. Okay, sometimes it gives me an error when I connect after having been connected. All right, so I'm going to hide the other camera because it's kind of going to be blocking my view, or blocking your view, not my view. So let's get rid of the other camera for a second. All right, so anyway, I'm on the iPad Pro with the Apple Pencil. I could use my finger. If you don't have an iPad Pro, you can certainly use a regular iPad. I'm going to go to the Adobe folder once again, and this time I'm going to go to a different free app. We just used Photoshop Fix. Now we're going to use Photoshop Mix. So Photoshop Mix, another free app on the App Store and on Android. If I go to Photoshop Mix, Photoshop Fix and Mix look the same. So you start in those apps, you're going to see your previous projects. On the left-hand side, you have a plus sign. The plus sign allows you to go in and get your image. Whether it's an image on your device, you want to shoot one right now with your device, or you want to go and get one, in this case, you want to create just a blank canvas. So you can create now a custom blank canvas. All right, and so I'm going to go ahead and say, yes, I want to get an image. It's going to ask me where. I'm going to go ahead and get that image from Lightroom. Again, that's where my images are. If your images are in the camera roll, that's where you get them from. So I created a collection called a mobile demo. There it is. So I need two images that I want to composite together. The first one is going to be the New York skyline with the Freedom Tower. I'm just going to go ahead and pull that image in and open it up, and that image comes in. Now, here's the difference between Photoshop Fix and Mix. Photoshop Fix, think of it as a retouching tool. It's like all the pixel level things you would do with brushes and healing and patching and cloning and all those Photoshop features. Photoshop Mix is geared towards layering and compositing and putting people on different backgrounds and things like that. So that's what the two apps are for. So we're in the second app, again, free, Android, iOS. And now I have a layers panel on the right-hand side. My first layer is the New York skyline. I'm going to tap the plus sign on the right-hand side to bring up my next layer. So my next layer is going to be another image in that same Lightroom collection. And it's going to be this model shot that I took. I'm going to go ahead and open this one up. And it's offering to resize the canvas because this model shot is much bigger than the skyline. I don't want to resize it. I'd rather it be small. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel it. And I'm just going to move that layer down. Now, the obvious problem is the white background or gray background from the studio. We want it to look like she was in New York or against that skyline. So there's a couple problems with that. One, we got to get rid of the original background. Two, there's some color issues. So let's get rid of the original background first. And I'm very pleased to show this because this has been a long time coming. Honestly, I thought Photoshop Mix was okay. It was a cool app, but I really just couldn't use it for a lot of things because the cutout just took too long. It just took longer than I was willing to do on a mobile device. They finally made it to where I would easily use this now. And here's why. When I tap cutout at the bottom, it starts with the smart cutout where you would start brushing and trying to tell it what you want. But now there's a new button on the left-hand side that says auto. That's my favorite new thing. Watch. I'm just going to tap auto, just one tap. It thinks about it, and cuts the image out. That's it. Click OK, cut out, done. Oh. That's it. I can now size her, move her around. She's on a separate layer. I can make her bigger if I want because she's been cut out from that original background. Now, yes, if the background's difficult, she's on a red background, wearing a red jacket, it's not going to be too easy to do. But when the background is easy to cut out, it's now easier for it to cut out. Instead of even on a white background with the old version, I still have to paint and tell it which parts of her I want, and miss parts and so forth and so on. Now at least the auto gives me a fighting chance on images that are relatively medium to easy to cut out. All right, so now that we got her there, here's the dead giveaway that you composited something because the lighting doesn't match. In other words, we're on a sunny, partly cloudy day in New York, and She's nicely lit from a softbox in the studio, and those two things just don't match. Well, luckily, and also in this new version, the team put in a harmony ability for the colors. Now, when you do this harmony thing, it's going to combine the two layers into one. So if you want to still keep that separate layer, I recommend you duplicate the layers first, which you can do because now you have more layers as well. So I'm just going to tap on her layer and I'm just going to say duplicate. That'll give me a duplicate layer. I can also tap on the New York layer and I can say duplicate that layer as well. Now at that point, I don't need both layers of each thing right now. So for example, I could take the top layer, tap on it one more time, and I can just hide it. Just tap the little eyeball to hide that layer. And same thing, I don't need the bottom city image right now, but I'm just keeping it as a backup just in case. So I can hide it for now. So now I'm only seeing the two middle layers. The other layers are there. I'm just hiding them from now. All right, so how do I want to harmonize this? And this really depends. Do I want her to match the sky or the background, or do I want the background to match her? I experimented with both ways, and what's more pleasing to my eye is if I made the city match her. But for the sake of the way you would really do it, we're going to take her layer and drag it down on top of the skyline layer, like so. As soon as I let go, it's going to ask me, what do I want to do? Do I want to merge it onto that layer, which means just flatten it onto that layer? Copy a mask, meaning the cutout shape of that onto our layer, or the new feature, which is harmonize on layer. And look at our skin tones and look at our color once I hit harmonize. Didn't make, well, it's still doing it. There we go. So now she gets kind of that more colder bluish tint from the background. And now she looks more like she might have been there that day as opposed to being completely differently lit than she was before. And you can still tweak it, you can still make adjustments, but you get the idea. And it also combined those two layers together. So that's what I was trying to warn you about. Those two middle layers that became one when I did that. All right, and that's why I made the backups first. Next, here's another new, thank God they finally did this feature, text. Photoshop Fix doesn't have text. Photoshop Mix never had text. Lightroom doesn't have text. You know, it's a shame that we have Photoshop that can add text easily to an image, but none of the Photoshop apps could do it on mobile devices until now. So if I tap the plus sign, you notice one of my new layer choices is text. So I could say, give me a new text layer, and voila, there it is. I can type into that new layer, or tap into that new layer, and we're going to type in New York. That was probably easy to guess. And then we're going to say done. And I'm going to pick that up and move it because it is a layer. I can move it anywhere I want. And notice, of course, I want to do some formatting. So notice at the bottom, I have formatting and blending. I'm going to tap on format. And first thing I want to do is format to a different font. I want to use the ITC Bodoni. That looks more like New York style. And I'm also going to left justify it. All right, so now we got it left justify. I can also make it a little bigger. Let's go to text size. We got a nice slider. Make that nice and big. There we go. Okay, so I got my New York word in there the way I want. And I don't have to stop there. I can say, you know what? Let's add another new layer. Another new text layer. Tap. And we're going to type in all caps, Fashion Week. All righty. And yay, text. I know, right? Let's do done. And first, let me get it in place first where I want it. And before I start tweaking it, all right, let's go to text. For that one, I want a nice thin. Let's see if I've got something even thinner. Unfortunately, you don't get to pick your fonts like you do with Photoshop, or I'm sorry, Comp CC. You only get the fonts that they give you in this app, but they give you some nice ones. All right, so I'll use Avenue. That's the thinnest I see there. That's a sans serif font. All right, so now we got that. Let's go to size. I'll make that smaller. Oh, and left justify it. There we go. Now let's make it smaller. There we go, and perfect. Click OK. And still move it around, tweak it, move it up just a little bit more, and away we go. So now we have our Fashion Week ad or social media post or, hey, I'm at Fashion Week, post that you could do all on your mobile device. I did this earlier on the iPhone just to play around. So it doesn't matter which device you're doing it on, you would have the exact same features and capabilities. The only difference is, of course, with the iPad, you would have Apple Pencil. All right. Now, what can I do with it? This is something I often forget to show. Obviously, once you're done compositing, or if you're not done, you might want to still do something else with it. So number one, I can save it to the camera roll as a JPEG. I can send it over to Lightroom, so it's in my Lightroom collection and syncs with all my other Lightroom stuff. I can submit it to Adobe Stock. That's right. If you are an Adobe Stock contributor, you can submit to Adobe Stock directly from Photoshop Mix for your mobile creations. All right, and here's the last one. I skipped a couple, but here's the main one, I should say. Open in Photoshop. If I want to tweak it and play around with it some more and do other things to it, and I want to do that when I get home or do it when I get back to the desktop, I was just playing around while I was on a commute, I can open in Photoshop. That will render out a Photoshop PSD file, a Photoshop document, and sync it to Creative Cloud, and then open, or once my computer wakes up or whatever, it will open it. So it's sitting in Photoshop waiting for me if I left my computer on. If I didn't leave my computer on, it'll be there waiting for me, just like it's opening now. And there it is. And some text layers need updating because I didn't have those fonts. Yes, and there we go. Okay. Here it is in Photoshop, complete with all the layers, complete with everything that I was playing around with, that I can now go in and do whatever I want to do with it. So if I want to tweak it a different way, I can. If I don't have to. So you've got complete round tripping from mobile to the desktop and back if you want. Did I spell fashion wrong? No, I didn't spell it wrong. Also, spell checking will help a lot in Photoshop. Yes, okay, there you go. Yeah, Photoshop can spell check easier than you can on a mobile device. Although it does, bring up the auto suggestions. Okay, so switching back, let's hide Photoshop for a second. So that was just sending it to the desktop. When I got back to my computer, whenever I got home, it'd be there. And now let's go ahead and get out of this. So I'm just going to go ahead and go back. So now that project is saved in Photoshop Mix, but it's also syncing it. You saw a little swirl thing down there. It was syncing it to the cloud. So if I go open Photoshop Mix on my phone, that project's there too. So it syncs across all your devices, even if you don't send it to Photoshop. So if you got Photoshop Mix on 2 or 3 devices, the same projects will be on those 2 or 3 devices. All right, so with that said, we did Fix. We started with Lightroom. We went into Fix. We did some Mix. I'm going to go back to Lightroom, and then we're going to finish off in Fix for one last thing. So let's go to Lightroom right now. And in Lightroom, I've got all my collections. My 21,682 photos are there. I've got over, I think, close to 200,000 or right around 200,000 photos, period, in Lightroom. So I've chose to sync the 21,000 favorites that I like to work with. All right. Yeah, the auto cutout is pretty cool. So let's go in and go to that same collection we were looking at earlier. Same photos. Same one, by the way, came over to the iPad. The one without the umbrellas here. The same one I just finished. And now let's take a look at this photo. This photo could use some work. I'm going to go into the editing mode of Lightroom. And once I'm here, and by the way, let's change our app icon there. We're in Lightroom CC. And now that I'm in Lightroom CC, or Lightroom for mobile, I should say. Not Lightroom CC. Lightroom CC is what's on the desktop. I'm in Lightroom for mobile. I can go in and make some adjustments. First thing is the horizon is a little crooked. So I'm going to go to my crop tool. I could just tap on straighten and see if that will straighten it automatically. If it can't, then I can just rotate it myself to straighten the photo myself. Okay, so I got the photo straight the way I want. Now it's just dull, dark. Looks like it was about to rain, which it probably was. Let's go in and make some adjustments to make this look better. All right, first and foremost, I can go to lighting, and I've got all my same lighting controls that I would have inside of Lightroom on a desktop. I can choose auto and just see what that would do, and that does a fantastic job. But even if I want to tweak it from here, I still can. So for example, I can tap on the black bar, not the actual handle, but the bar that moves it over a little bit at a time, make it a little bit darker, and the blacks make it a little bit more contrasty. I hate it when my work's done for me like that. All right, let's bring the shadows back down a little bit, and that looks pretty cool. Okay. I would also go to effects, and I would go to dehaze, and I would bring over the dehaze. And the dehaze really makes my clouds pop, but then it starts to destroy other things in the photo. And that's the problem with global adjustments, is that you want that global adjustment only in certain areas. That's why they're called selective adjustments. So let me undo this. Let's hit undo. And instead, let's apply this using the new local adjustment brush. All right, so at the very top, there's the color, crop, and the third icon, which is selective adjustments or selective edits. And I can do the plus sign on the left-hand side. And now for the first time in Lightroom, we have the brush in Lightroom Mobile as well. So I can tap the brush, and I can say, you know what? Let's get a bigger brush. Maybe a brush about that size, a little bit bigger. Let's just go ahead and brush all this area. Now, all I'm doing right now is just masking or marking my area. I'm just telling it what area of the photo I'm going to want this adjustment on. All right, now if I went a little carried away, which I did, I can go ahead and say, you know what, give me a smaller brush, and let's just erase it a little bit off these mountains. And I don't want it maybe on these darker clouds, because it makes the darker clouds too dark. So I can selectively add it or take it off the areas where I don't want it. So now that's the beauty of a selective adjustment. You can paint anywhere you want and make the adjustment anywhere you want. Now that I've told it to do that, I say I don't want to see the red anymore. So I can just say, you know what, don't show the red overlay right now. I know it's there. I know what I painted. Now let's go ahead and do it. So now I can go to effects one more time, and I can go to that dehaze slider and just dehaze in those clouds the way I want without over dramatically making the dark clouds too dark, because they weren't brushed in. And I can always go back in and say, show me the overlay. And if I need to brush, there we go. I can brush back in or erase back in, and it will still continue to keep that adjustment as I made it, but allowing me to unadjust areas or further adjust areas that I wish I had brushed the first time. So I get the adjustment. Oh, hang on. I don't want any of that either. No dark clouds. There we go. There we go. Perfect. And none of that either while we're at it. So basically, just give me the left side. All right. And not any of that. Don't want that dark cloud either. Perfect. Just give me the blue. Okay. You don't have to stop there. If you got other adjustments you want to make, you can. So for example, I could say, give me another brush, and start brushing down here in the water. So that's a second adjustment. And I can say the same thing there. I could just do a dehaze in that spot, but dehaze really isn't going to help me. What I want to do is color and make the water a little bluer. Oh, nice and blue, a little more saturated. And then I can, of course, zoom in if I want and make my brush size smaller and get in and get some of those details I might have missed when I was zoomed out. Selective adjustments in Lightroom on iOS and Android is now a thing. Okay, cool. And of course, it takes advantage of pressure sensitivity on the brush. Here's a tidbit. If you've got an iPhone with 3D touch, you know, I can press harder on the screen. Now your finger becomes a pressure sensitive stylus in Lightroom for this selective brush while you're using it on your phone with just your finger. So you've still got pressure sensitivity even if you're not using the Apple Pencil on an iPad. All right. As soon as I hit done, and keep in mind, all of these Lightroom adjustments are non-destructive. So if I ever want to come back and readjust that or turn that off, I can, because it's just metadata. And those adjustments are syncing, if they haven't already, all up to date. So it's already synced back to my desktop. If I go look at this photo on my desktop or other devices, that adjustment's been made. Cool. Let's do one more. Let's go back to Photoshop Fix. Let's create a brand new project. Let's go get it from Lightroom. And let's go get it from the same collection. That's why I love Lightroom, because my images are accessible to me everywhere. I saw something about the combined layer rasterize in Photoshop. Which combined layer? Depends on what you're talking about. The layers are layers, so they're not rasterized any more than they would be. The text is still text, so nothing gets extra rasterized in Photoshop, if that's what you're asking. All right, so I'm in Photoshop Fix. Again, I get my photos any way I want, from the camera roll, from albums, from my Creative Cloud folder, from, I believe, even Dropbox, but in this case, Lightroom Mobile. I'm going to go ahead and open up this portrait. And this portrait I took years and years and years ago. And of course, when you look at your work from years and years and years ago, you see all the stuff you wish you'd done better. So I get a chance to tweak a few things I wish I'd done better back in the day. I'm going to go ahead and open this one up. And now we have the full power of Photoshop Fix down at the bottom there. So we can see all the tools, not just healing and not just liquefy. So this is what I meant. When you come over from Photoshop or from Lightroom, you only get the two choices. Do you want to liquefy or do you want to heal? But when you open up Photoshop Fix directly, you get everything. So you can just do whatever you need to do. So if you needed to do a lot to a photo, then you would just start the way I did, go right to Photoshop Fix and open it up. And let's switch back to the right icon. There we go. We're in Photoshop Fix. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on this photo. And last count, I believe Photoshop Fix can handle like 50 megapixel files or something around that area. So image size is not a problem. It also has a very nice zoom to be able to zoom in and work in your photos in great detail like I'm doing here. All right. Get some of those stray hairs out of there. And I'm just using the healing brush, just like I did remove the people from the beach, using it to remove these stray hairs. And as a photographer, I just could have taken a second and said, hey, can you brush your hair back, put the hat back on, and then I wouldn't have this issue. But no, no, no. I was too scared and new at the time to say anything. I was taking pictures of a model. Hey, don't say a word. Don't screw up the situation. I'm kidding. I wasn't scared. But I just didn't think of saying things like that back then. You can save yourself a lot of time in Photoshop if you just correct it in the camera first. But I didn't. So now I'm spending some time in Photoshop Fix. Oh, undo. That's when I tried to be greedy and grab too much. There we go. All right. And of course, you get the idea. I can keep going. Depends on how much hair you want to remove. Stray hair, flyaway hair, or whatever you want to call it. Whatever you do, if you're going to remove part of a hair, don't leave the other part just hanging in the middle of nowhere. You got to remove the whole hair or leave it all there. Same thing out here in the background. Like, yeah, leaving that one just flying by itself in the middle, that won't work. So after you're done doing this, take some time and look at it closely to make sure you didn't miss anything or leave anything hanging. That will come back and bite you. I always recommend people, before you post an image, sleep on it. Post it in the morning. We're too excited for that, especially now that we have Photoshop Fix. But I have caught things in the morning that I swear I did not see the night before. All right. Now I could just take that whole hair out, but you get the idea. Or, better yet, let's do it a different way. A lot of times, instead of removing like several strands of hair, I'll fill it in instead. So I could just grab the clone stamp tool and just start cloning that hair in to fill that area up. So just to show off a feature here in Photoshop Fix. So you've got clone stamp, very similar to the same clone stamp you would have in Photoshop on the desktop. All right, you also have a before and after mode at the top. So that's before, and that's after. So shoot it right, yep, before and after. Now, one of the other things that I wasn't doing back then, eyes are very important to me. I wasn't taking the time to sharpen them. And of course, at first glance, you don't see anything that says sharpen, but usually sharpen and smooth go hand in hand. So if I tap on smooth, hey, there's sharpen. What a surprise. I can go in and sharpen those pupils up a bit, sharpen any jewelry, sharpen the lips a little bit, just to make them pop a little bit more. All right. Okay. So there we are. And again, you can just keep going. You get the idea. So now let's go ahead. And by the way, I've got the same option to send this over to Photoshop on the desktop or save it to Lightroom, save it to the camera roll, publish it right to Instagram, so forth and so on. And the same options, whether I'm on the iPad or iPhone or Android tablet. Same options no matter what. All right. Sissa is asking, can I tell you what the new features in Photoshop will be at Max as well as any new apps? Sure, hold on. All right, as we were saying, let's go back. And that project's there now and it will sync. It's syncing the project to the cloud. Therefore, if I open it up Photoshop Fix on my phone, that project will be there. All right, next, let's go into a different image. So I'm in Photoshop Fix here. I've got this image. Let me see if I got another one in here. Got those, got that one, got that one. There's one in particular I want to play with if it's here. Yeah, let's open up this one. It's one of the project managers. So he won't mind if I do this. You've got this, in Photoshop now, you've got Face Aware Liquify. This is where Face Aware Liquify started. It actually started in Photoshop Fix and then made its way over to Photoshop on the desktop. So technology was invented here first. So I'm going to go to Liquify. And as soon as I go to Liquify, if it can identify a face, meaning a face that's kind of straight on, not a profile, then it will give me these dots, letting me know that I can now manipulate those features of the face. So for example, let's zoom in a little bit. And let's go in, excuse me, let's go in and for example, let's grab his eyes. So if I just tap on one of the dots for eyes, it'll do both eyes at the same time. And all the controls pop up on the right hand or left hand side for what I can do with the eyes. So for example, we always like to do this for fun, make the eye, oh my God, so excited, or not too excited, kind of sleepy, oh my God, too excited. And it's just creepy that it can do that. All right. We can also change the distance between the eyes, make them further apart, more alien-like, closer together, more weird-like, or just put them kind of like where they were. We can also tilt. Actually, I think that's kind of cool because, I don't know, I just think that's cool. All right. You can also change the height and the width. So for example, if I go to width, almost looks like size, but a little bit different. And away we go. All right. Now, if I tap, there we go. So I can tap on different spots. So if I tap on the mouth, for example, this is always the one that if you really like this presentation, and I think he did, then we can also make him just smile a little bit more. So, Face Aware Liquify, cool, very nice. Use your powers for good, not evil. And the same thing, if I were to click OK or tap OK, I should say, that would be made, those adjustments would be made to this image, and I could do all the things with the image that I talked about before. So that's image editing on the go. Whether it's phone or tablet, iOS or Android, Lightroom, Photoshop Fix, Photoshop Mix, whatever type of editing it is that you want to do. Is there a place we can leave suggestions on future stream topics? If it's a future stream topic for me, just tweet it to me. You can tweet me right here at the bottom there, over there, at Terry L. White. And I will certainly add your topics to my list. All right, I'm gonna get out of that without saving it. And there we are. But Photoshop Fix, if you haven't looked at it, check it out. Photoshop Mix, if you had looked at it but hadn't looked at it in a while, you definitely need to check it out because it's mind-boggling what it can do now. And of course, Lightroom Mobile for managing your photos and syncing them between your Lightroom on the desktop and Lightroom on your mobile devices, and even Lightroom on the web. If you go to lightroom.adobe.com, you'll see those same collections. You'll see the same editing capabilities on the web, even in a browser. If you didn't bring your phone or tablet or computer, you can do it on the spot. All right, so with that, can you whiten teeth? Yes, you can. You can whiten teeth in Photoshop Fix. Yeah, that'd be the easiest place to do it. Photoshop Fix, you can kind of get away with it with the adjustment brush in Lightroom. But Photoshop Fix, you can lighten and whiten teeth that way. All right, let's see if there are any last minute questions before we call it a Friday day. Let's see if I missed anything here. I don't see anything over there on Twitter. All right. This is gold. Yes, it is. All right. Okay, so with that said, guys, have a great weekend. Also, check out the longer 3-day streams at adobelive.com. We just finished up a week this week. I don't think there's one next week, but there will be one the week after, and you can always see the schedule there of who's coming on, what the topics will be at adobelive.com. I stream regularly here on the Creative Cloud YouTube channel on either Mondays or Fridays, and as well as the Creative Cloud Facebook page, InDesign Facebook page, Lightroom Facebook page, CC Design Facebook page, Students page, and sometimes the Spark page as well. Facebook page, that is. So check it out. Evo Cerise just put in a link there on YouTube. And thanks everybody. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one. If you want to go back and watch this, if you just came in, you'll be able to watch the replay in just a few seconds. Later, everybody.